change your thinking from a delivery-based business to an outcomes-based business. And if you start thinking, oh, how do I deliver this? Rather start thinking, how do we as a business achieve this outcome for the business or for the client? And that way you'll empower your team, you'll let go of things, and you will stop being the center of all attention and therefore the bottleneck, and you find another way to stroke your ego instead. Welcome to the latest edition of the Mastermind Family and Business Podcast. As always, joining me in the chair, Caroline.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, Caroline, we're talking about the concept of why businesses get trapped in the delivery process. So today we're going to talk about if you are in a service business and you just feel like you're constantly trapped in the operational delivery of your service or product and you feel like you can't get out of that. We're going to show you some ways that we're going to unpack why that is and then show you some ways that you can get out of it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, Caroline, so the concept is that, most every business owner we talk to feels stuck at some stage, right?
I think it's, if anybody tells you that they're not at some stage, then I think they're telling you a little porcupine.
Or they're full of shit, is your other thing. No,
they're living in social media world.
Because you get stuck at some stage and most people feel stuck. But I think the interesting thing is that it's not about feeling stuck because they lack any kind of motivation or because they lack the right team or because they lack the opportunities to run their business, but really they get stuck because they become the bottleneck, don't they?
Yeah. I think when you first start your business, you're the one that is the go-to person. You do everything. You tell your clients everything. You're delivering everything. One partner will be doing one part of the operation, the other part will be doing another part of the operation, or there'll be crossover because you have to. But once you sort of start to grow and scale, you have to change that because then it just becomes operational dependency, and that's not a good thing.
So it's really interesting if you're listening to this now and you're sort of going, yeah, I feel like I'm stuck because everything has to come through me because I'm the best person to determine quality control or solve the problems. Everything comes to me. Just a little newsflash for you. The reason everything comes to you is because that's what you've set up, right? So you are the master of your own destiny. You
allow it. People allow this. It's crazy.
Yeah, they do. But we've all done it though, Caroline. Like you've done it, I've done it. We've all gone, everything has to come through me.
Well, I try and put things through you so I don't have to do it.
Well, we know that. But it's interesting. I want to share because I had lunch yesterday with an old client, and he is now involved in a very large international business.
Yep.
And he says they have got we're talking about $120 million turnover, and yet everything they want to do has to go back through head office. Head office is based in Europe, and everything they do has to go back through head office. So it's not just small business. I mean, but I guess the really big lesson I got 2 lessons out of that. Well, I got 3 lessons out of that lunch.
Well, a nice steak.
Well, the regatta do an amazing grass-fed rib fillet. That's the first thing. And the second thing, there's this. I discovered this great new Tasmanian Pinot.
But Tasmania's got great Pinot.
Yeah, I know. So I did have a red at lunch. But here's the thing: that processing that very large business started as a small business.
Well, I think that's an interesting business because as a husband and wife team, they had very clear, tasks and roles of what they used to do.
Yep.
And I think that because of that, they were able to get through the process and scale their business. But it's one of the things where unless you when you get to that stage where you are scaling and your business is growing, there has to be a change. So the change is not necessarily always in the people. The change is actually about you. You have to change to be able to allow the systems to change because without a big change, it's going to be the same. So you're not going to be able to manage that effectively.
But so that's easy to say, right? But the reality is, what if I said, okay, fine, Caroline, so I need to let go of things, but I don't know that I can trust my team. Nobody can do as well as I can. You know what? Anytime I've ever let go, someone fucks it up. Do you know what I mean? That's what happens. So now I'm just not going to let it go because then it won't get screwed up,
Yes. That's probably true, but if it means that you can make better efforts elsewhere, and if somebody else doing a task at a 80% when you do it at 100%, that means that's giving you more time to do what you need to do to grow the business.
Yeah.
Plus, it's also building their confidence.
Yeah. I just think I read this great book the other day on developing great teams, right? And one of the things it said that people need is they're looking for autonomy. Mm-hmm. They're looking for social purpose, right? And they're looking to understand that they're trusted. And in fact, one of the big things, even among the younger generations, I'm allowed to say that now, but even among the younger generations, is that issue of trust. So I guess my answer to that would be at some stage you have to trust your team. But you've got to develop a process for that, right? You've got to give them something little and then reward them, even if it's with praise for going, hey, great job there, great decision that you made. See, I'm a big believer in letting people make a decision, and because in very few situations will that be life or death. So if they get the wrong decision, and if they do fuck it up, we can fix it. But I'd rather they did that and we fixed it and they learned from the process than everything still coming through me.
Yep. It can't come, and not everything comes through. What happens if you're traveling? What happens if, the boss is sick? What happens if the boss is on holidays? Unless this dependency changes and the system changes and you allow it to change, you plan that change, then it's going to be like that.
Well, I think there's two things there as well, because there's an internal and an external, right? So what happens is if you stay in control of everything, everything comes through. People come knocking on your door or coming asking you, John, our mate in Darwin, right?
I know
you love John. We all love John. But you know what? I remember when we first started working with John, he rang me and he said, can you help me with my business? I went, yeah, of course you can. What do you want? He goes, I want to change my fucking name. I went, what do you mean? He went, I'm sick of every bastard calling my name every day. All I hear is John. But he'd created that environment where people could do that. But once we turned it around and started empowering other people,
yes,
right, by trusting them, giving them parameters, trusting them to do something, giving them something small, seeing that they've done it, acknowledging it, rewarding that, even if it's with praise, going, well done, guys, you've moved forward. Then they started to build themselves from there, so that now he kind of doesn't really have much of a job.
And not like that process was really good with John, because he was looking at exiting, he's looking at how he can exit the business. So he's in that process of an exit strategy. So, by him having done that, he got himself the freedom as well. The staff, like you were saying, the staff had trust in what they were doing, but he's in a position now that if someone said to him, knocked on the door, I want to buy your business, he's off. So
that's a really important point. So what I was getting to before was that there's two aspects to it, right? The first is that your team will come to you for everything. Everything comes through you. But there's also a risk, isn't there, that your clients will only come to you. Like if
oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I'll only deal with Caroline.
I think we've all had those sort of clients.
Yep.
They just become major high maintenance.
No, I'll only deal with Caroline.
Yep.
But if that's the case, it's your fault, because what it says to me is that Caroline's the only person who can deliver our service at that level, right? So we've created that because we haven't allowed the people around us to build up and deliver the level of service that we would normally deliver.
Yeah. I challenge some of that to ego.
Yep. Well, everybody wants to be needed.
It needs to be needed, but
is it ego though? Everybody wants to be needed, don't they? Plus, ego is not a dirty word, Caroline.
No. If you feel that you're the one that has to look after the client because you love the emotional feeling that you get from working with that client, then perhaps you're being a little bit egotistical there, thinking that nobody else will be able to make that client feel happy.
Right.
But maybe if we look at what other ways that you can get that feel by doing something different, or maybe the strategies and the systems that you can put in place will make you feel better. You're essentially shifting your view on the outcome for that client.
So we've presented the problems, right? What happens if the team always come to you? What happens if clients will only deal with you? That's where your scaling is stopped. It's what I call the two-hand syndrome, right? You've only got two hands, so you can only do so much. And what happens when you first start the business? You do everything. Like you do everything in the business when you first kick off. You're responsible for quality control, decision making, stock ordering, whatever it might be. You're responsible for all of that. So we presented the problem, and what we've said is that it puts a cap on the ceiling. Now the solution, we've touched a little bit on it. Let's dive a bit deeper into the solution. If I'm listening to this right now and I'm going, yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, everything comes past me. The clients will only deal with me. The staff always bring everything to me.
And you're turning into a whinger because, I've got to do everything. These people do nothing.
Do you know what? It's actually a reasonable point you make, because I think that that's when people can fall out of love of the business that they fell in love with in the first place.
Yeah.
The reason they started the business because they love serving the clients but they'll use that as an excuse. Oh, but I love looking after the clients. Like I can think of some clients we've had over the years where that's been the resistance to get them to change. Oh no, but I love doing that, and I love doing the books, and I love doing this, and I love everything coming through me because it makes them feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
It gives them a level of warm fuzzies, right? So what do we do about it? How do we fix that? We've already touched on the base. So we've got to empower the team, right? How do we start that empowerment process?
Yeah, if you can get yourself to a position where you're looking at the task, not focusing on the task and how the task feels for you, but looking at how the outcome feels for you. So if you can say to yourself, this outcome is going to be perfect, I love it when this happens, maybe that you can look at it then and go, I don't have to be the one that actually does the hard yards to achieve this outcome.
Yep.
I can shift that to somebody else, still get the reward for that and still feel good about that, but share that reward with somebody else. And that in itself is empowering.
It's interesting you use that term, because one of the things that we say to clients when we start working with family businesses is, we are going to turn you into an outcomes-based thinker. So this is not a process thinker. Because a process thinker says, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and then this fits into this process. Whereas an outcome-based thinker goes, how am I going to achieve this outcome for the business and for the client?
Yep.
What's the outcome I'm going to aim for? And then it becomes less relevant as to who does it.
Yeah.
Right? And you can become... So the analogy I used with somebody yesterday, with Gavin, I was talking to Gavin, and the analogy I used was, you start the business playing all the instruments in the orchestra, and then you get to the point where you might just play a couple of them, and then you get to the point where you just tune up a couple of them, and then finally you get to the point where you're the conductor and you don't play any of the instruments. And that's kind of what we want to do. But what the conductor does do is they're in charge of the timing, right?
The flow.
In charge of the timing, the flow. And they are responsible for the end result. Because if an orchestra plays a piece and it sounds like crap, no one goes, oh, that third violinist did a shit job there. They go, oh man, that conductor's lost his
His
way.
timing.
Yeah.
But maybe is the conductor working in a system? So he knows that the system means that the violinists have to be, working on this. The third violinist needs to be working on the second bar, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Okay, so number one, empower the team.
Yeah.
Find little wins that they can have. Start giving them tasks.
Build their confidence.
Yeah. And keep in the back of your mind, if they're doing it 80% of what you would do it. General Colin Powell used the 70-20 rule. I mean, if it's within 70%, I'm okay with it. So if they're doing it around 70 or 80%, it's probably good enough, and you can improve on that. So you got to build their confidence. I think that's a great thing. But I think the other two then is to then set those systems in place. And that's kind of where AI can be really useful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So you could use things like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and actually use AI to run in the background to set systems.
Yeah. I mean, AI is so trendy at the moment, and like I'm using it, and I'm on this sort of balance between being excited about, being nervous about it, being intimidated a little bit by it, but really excited that I know it's going to help. But the benefit I see of it is it's going to enable me or enable the business to be able to grow and do more, help me do more, but it's not going to help the relationship with my clients. So I still need to make sure that I'm maintaining the relationship, because AI can't do that.
AI can't do that. But what AI can do, and I shared this in the team meeting this morning, is AI can run in the background.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about improving the service that we provide to the clients, helping your team to build, you can use AI in the background to actually create the systems. So you can say to AI, have a look at my calendar, look what it is that I'm doing on a regular basis, and help me to create a system around that. Or this is something we do on a regular basis. And that way you can then plug new people into your business because there's a system there operating to enable them to do what needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah. And I think AI is funny because I think in a business, whether you're a husband and wife business or a family business, there often there's one person who's maybe less confident with using AI or using different apps and things like that, or different programs and software. And like that would be me. I'm the resistant one there,
Yeah.
and you're always this excitable,
Let's go get it. Yeah.
Shiny toy thing, and that would be so frustrating for some people.
But I did the right thing, right? For our 20th wedding anniversary, I gave you applaud. I look back on that, I think that was actually a pretty shit present. Like, here's applaud. 20 years, thank you. Here's applaud.
It's for helping my memory in case I get dementia when I'm older.
Yeah.
I'll be able to record all the meeting messages.
As long as I can log in and edit it, I'll just edit all the shit things that I've done out of it, and you won't remember. Hey, so here's the thing. So we spoke about. I think the one big takeaway that I'd really like listeners to this episode take away is change your thinking from a delivery based business to an outcomes based business. If you start thinking, oh, how do I deliver this? Rather start thinking, how do we as a business achieve this outcome for the business or for the client? And that way you'll empower your team, you'll let go of things, and you will stop being the centre of all attention and therefore the bottleneck, and you find another way to stroke your ego instead.
Yeah, take yourself out of that lead role and put you into, the conductor role.
Great chat, Caroline, as always. If you are listening to this on your favourite podcast player, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you know someone who's in a family business who get value out of this, please share it with them, because we'd love to be able to help more people in family businesses to understand the best way they can scale their business without ruining their relationship. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, and drop in the comments below if there's something you'd like us to chat about in a future episode. Until we see you in that future episode, please make sure you spend time with those who matter most.